If you've been wanting to create listings that look like this, where you're selling t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and other different items in that same listing, in this video, I'm gonna walk you through step-by-step exactly how to create listings like this utilizing Printify. If you're new here, my name is Taylor and my channel is focused on all things Etsy and print on demand. Here on my channel, I share my personal experience with Etsy and print on demand as a seller who has sold over $160,000 on the platform, as well as just share helpful videos like this to help you in your journey as well. I recently just announced that I am going to be opening up a mentorship group on January 1st. So if you wanted to join the waitlist for that mentorship group, I will have that linked in the description box below. My mentorship group includes direct support where we can create individualized and personalized strategy to help you reach your print on demand goals, as well as monthly challenges, group coaching calls, and a community of like-minded individuals who are looking to scale their Etsy and print on demand businesses in the new year. Be sure to check that out in the description box below if that's something that interests you, and I hope to see you in there. All right, so I've got my laptop here and we are gonna start on Printify. So the first thing that we are gonna do is we're gonna go to the product catalog, and in this example, I'm gonna be creating a listing that has all types of different apparel options. So we are gonna start with just the Bella and Canvas 3001, and I am going to show additional providers so that I can see all of the different print companies that offer this product type. I recommend in a listing like this that all of the product variations that you are going to be adding into it all do come from the same print provider. This is helpful because if somebody were to order multiple of that item, so for example, they order a t-shirt and a sweatshirt, they're going to be coming from the same place, as well as it's going to just make it easier for your customer because they're going to be receiving one package as opposed to multiple potentially. Now with apparel, I typically like to stick with Monster Digital or Swift POD. For me, those two print providers in Printify's network have been the most reliable for me as far as stock reliability, as well as the efficiency of actually producing the item. Generally, with both of these print providers, I am seeing most of my packages getting sent out to the customer within about 4 to 5 business days, and Monster Digital is actually on the quicker side of that. With Monster Digital, I see items being sent out usually within 2 or 3 days. So that's super fantastic because you're able to adjust your processing time according to that, which can help with your conversion rate if you're working with a print provider that's able to actually get the item out sooner than later. For this, I'm gonna choose Monster Digital and I just click Start Designing. Earlier, I went over to Creative Fabrica, which is my favorite place to find different graphics and fonts. I do have a link in the description that will get you 10 free downloads with Creative Fabrica. I found this cute little skiing graphic, and so I am gonna go ahead and just upload this. I do wanna note that with Creative Fabrica, it's important that you're paying attention to the licensing of any of the graphics that you're choosing. You are gonna wanna look for licenses that say full POD usage below. That is going to let you know that you are able to use that graphic for print on demand. And it's also important to know that with Etsy, Etsy does have the requirement that you are still customizing and making that design your own to some extent. So that might look like adding text with a graphic or maybe even changing up the colors in a graphic. You want to make sure that you are making that graphic custom in some type of way that makes it individualized to your shop and your product that you are selling. So for one, this is just part of Etsy's policies, but for two, I really wouldn't recommend just taking a graphic directly from Creative Fabrica anyways and putting it right on your product, because odds are that there are going to be other sellers who are doing the same, and then it is very unlikely that you are going to stand out and you are going to make those sales. All right, so our graphic has uploaded. Now I'm gonna just resize this a little bit. My guideline for where I want my graphic to be is usually about at the armpit. And at the armpit, I like to envision an imaginary line that's just cutting through the center of the graphic that I'm uploading. So I do this with text designs, graphics like this, but that is generally where I've found to be the best placement for apparel. Next, I'd wanna select all of the different color variations of this particular shirt that I wanna sell. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the athletic heather, as well as dark gray heather. That is a really popular color choice. And we'll leave it at those three. So I'm gonna just save this product. Now you would want to type in your title and your listing description for this particular item. If you need help with creating SEO and how to complete your SEO for any of your listings, I recommend watching this video next, where I walk through step-by-step exactly how to go about your SEO in your listings so that you are able to get your listings seen and in front of the right eyeballs on Etsy. Or I also have SEO Kickstart, which is my free mini course, which just takes SEO a step further and really explains the Etsy algorithm, how it works, and how you can better your SEO for all of your listings as well. Scrolling down, I recommend assigning a new shipping profile to this listing. And this is going to be, again, important that you're using the same print provider, because it is going to show that your items from this one listing are all coming from the same place, which they are if you're using the same print provider. If you were using multiple different print providers for the different variations of items in your listing, then that might be confusing for the customer because their item might be coming from somewhere different than what the listing actually says. As far as publishing settings, generally, I always like to show all variants as available for purchase. This is something that I feel comfortable doing with Printify because they do have a network of print providers. And in my experience, I have very rarely ever experienced a stock issue where I wasn't able to get that item made by a different print provider. If something is ever out of stock, I can always reroute it to a different print provider and fulfill that order. For the product details, I'm going to uncheck mockups. I generally like to upload my own mockup images, and this also just helps to upload the listing faster over to Etsy. Now, while this is publishing to Etsy, we are going to go back to our product catalog and we are going to do the same process for the next variation that we want to include in our listing. So I'm going to go to sweatshirts. And my favorite is the Gildan 18,000. This is super popular amongst all print-on-demand sellers. It is a nice, high-quality sweatshirt, super soft, and it is a great affordable price, especially with Printify, and even better if you do have Printify Premium, where you can have a really great profit margin with this type of item. Now, we selected Monster Digital for our t-shirt, so I am going to select Monster Digital as well for our sweatshirt. I've brought in our same design. Again, I'm going to just modify the placement. Same thing with sweatshirts as with t-shirts. I look at the armpit and I like to create that imaginary line that just goes straight through my graphic. Same thing with our sweatshirts. I'm going to select the different color variations that I'm looking to sell for this particular item, and I am going to save product. Now, what we're going to do differently with this is I am actually going to save this as a draft as opposed to publishing it. If I were to publish this listing, it would create a whole separate listing. And what I want to do instead is actually add the SKU numbers of this product into our listing on Etsy, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's jump over to Etsy. As you can see, our shirt that we published has already come over to my Etsy shop. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this listing. Now, of course, you would want to add in all of your different listing images. If you're selling a product on multiple different variations, then I think it's great to showcase that throughout your listing photos. So showing what that design might look like on a t-shirt, on a sweatshirt, on a hoodie maybe as well. And when we scroll down, where we want to focus for this listing is at the variations. What we're going to do, and unfortunately, this is where this becomes a little bit more tedious, you are actually going to completely delete the variations that are already available for this item, and we are going to create our own variation so that this makes sense for the customer. So the first variation that we are going to add, I am going to click create a new variation, and I'm going to just type in shirt size. I am going to say that the prices vary for each shirt size, quantities vary, and SKUs vary. And then I'm going to add another variation, again, creating a new variation, and I am going to say shirt color. Same thing for this. I am going to check all of these boxes. And here is where we are going to add the products that we're selling. So in this example, we're selling a t-shirt and a sweatshirt in this listing. And so what I'm going to do is type in the product next to the size. So I have t-shirt small, and I'm going to repeat that for all of the different sizes of t-shirts that I'm offering in this listing. Once I've done that for t-shirts, now I'm going to do the same thing for my sweatshirt. Perfect. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add all of our different variations in color. For the t-shirt, we were offering this in white, athletic heather, and dark gray heather. So I am going to type that in here. And then for the crew neck, we are offering that in white, sand, and sport gray. And I already have a variation typed in for white, so I don't have to retype white, but I am going to add in sand and sport gray. Once I have all of my variations typed in, I'm gonna just click update. As I mentioned earlier, this is where it gets to be a little bit tedious. What I'm gonna do first is I'm going to just change the quantity, and I like to just update the quantity to 999 for all of the different products. Oh, and another thing that I wanted to mention before I actually go in and edit the prices, we can actually turn off certain variations for certain products. So for example, with our t-shirts, we are only selling the t-shirts in the white, athletic heather, and dark gray heather. So I'm going to turn off the variations that aren't relative to that t-shirt. So for example, if I look through the t-shirt size small right here, I am not offering the t-shirt in the sand color or sport gray. So I can turn off sand and sport gray for all of the different t-shirts that I have in this section. Same thing with the sweatshirt. I am only selling the sweatshirt in white, sand, and sport gray. So I can turn off athletic heather and dark gray heather for all of the sweatshirt options in this listing. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and start adding in my prices for each of these different variations. So I've set up the listing. I have the t-shirt options available, the sweatshirt options available. I have the pricing and the quantity added in. Now, there's two different directions that you could go with this listing from here. The first would be to leave this listing as is with no SKU numbers in the variations. What would happen when you receive an order for this particular item if there's no SKU number added is if we jump over to Printify, generally orders that have a SKU number are going to pop up naturally in your Printify orders tab on the main screen. Orders that do not have a SKU number are going to go to the other orders tab. So that is something that you would want to go and check for this order to appear. And there you would be able to actually fulfill the order manually. Now that's something that would require you to be a little bit more hands-on with your sales and with your listings. So another way that you could do this to make it a little bit more passive would be actually to go to your products, and starting with the t-shirt, you would scroll down in Printify and you would actually look at the SKU numbers for each of the variations that you're selling. So if I wanted to add in the SKU numbers so that these orders would automatically be fulfilled when a customer places an order, I would want to copy in each of these SKU numbers into my listing on Etsy. So for example, if I have the small athletic heather for the t-shirt, I would want to copy that, come over to my listing, and paste that SKU number in that slot. I would then repeat that process. So maybe then I add in the dark gray heather, copy it, and paste it in that box. I would do that for all of the different variations in this listing. In Printify, I would want to go through each of the sizes and copy these SKU numbers that we see here into my listing. And then for the sweatshirt, I would need to go back to my products, go into the sweatshirt listing, and repeat that same process, going through these small sizes, their SKU numbers, and making sure that it matches the variation in my Etsy listing. Another tip would be to leave the listing blank with all of the SKUs and not actually add in the SKUs until you start to see sales on that listing. So this can be a really big time saver because when you create a listing like this that has multiple product variations, you don't necessarily always know whether or not that product is going to sell. So instead of wasting the time to add the SKU numbers in, you could just do that once you actually start to see that listing get sales. Another benefit to this is if I leave these SKUs blank and then I publish this listing now actually serves as a template for me, where if I just click this little icon and copy this listing, now I have a listing that looks exactly like the previous listing, but I can redo the SEO, recreate the listing images, and still offer a design on t-shirts and sweatshirts or any other product types that you wanted to add into this listing. You would just repeat these steps, repeat this process. And so this makes the time involved in creating a listing like this a lot easier so that you can really streamline the process and create more listings in your shop. I'd love to know if you are going to be creating listings like this in your shop. And please let me know if this video was helpful down in the comments below, as well as if you hit the like button, that lets me know that you found value in this video as well. Again, I will have the link to the waitlist for my mentorship group, the POD Connection, in the description box below. And if you're watching this video in the future, that mentorship group is already open and there will be a new link that you can actually click to join that mentorship. As always, I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one. I'm being attacked by my dogs. This is my puppy. This is Breck. He is named after Breckenridge, Colorado, and that is because I am a skier. I love skiing. And then, hi.